it's hard for people who don't know what we know about homelessness in Harford County to realize that there have been and there are people sleeping in cars who have to worry about whether they're safe that night or not. So I just really thank Diana, and thank you for your courage and for caring about the people who are with us now, and for your suggestions. We appreciate both of you very much. Thank you. I wanted to give everyone a little bit of an update because I think that there are some of you who may not be in touch with us regularly. So I wanted to let you know about the things that are happening at Harford Family House, the house that you started. Well, of course, we started out as Holy Family House, and I know that's a sore point for some people, but I wasn't part of the change, and the change did make sense, because originally Harford Family House was created by the 9 Episcopal churches, of course, but then it began to be supported by local businesses, individuals, the Rotary Club, other people, and Harford Family House is very inclusive in expressing the many, many kinds of people that do support us now. Well, some dates that are really important, and we have to remember these often at Harford Family House, and I don't want to be in anyone's way here. Harford Family House, or Holy Family House, was established as a legal entity way back in January of 1989. And just a few years later, in February of 1991, we became an incorporated nonprofit organization, which means we were able to accept donations and give people tax credit for those donations, which is the beginning of us being self-supporting. You all know that we were founded by the 9 Episcopal churches in Harford County, and I can't thank you enough, because your reaching out to that one family created a legacy of caring for Harford County's homeless families. We are the largest provider of transitional housing in all of Harford County, and really the only shelter that can keep a family like Diana's together, where there's a mom, a dad, and children. Between 2002 and 2010, Harford Family House served an average of 27 families per year, and that's quite a lot of families. But now, Harford Family House can serve 27 families at a time. And I've asked Ryan recently how many children we had in our program. We have 58 children in our program. That's more than ever in the history of Harford Family House. And truly, they do range from just about newborns to 18 years old. We've created some new programs. As you all know, there has never been any emergency shelter for families in Harford County. So we now have 3 emergency shelter program apartments for families. And one of those is supported by the United Way. The other is supported by a gift from Jones Junction, so please buy your cars at Jones Junction. They are good people. And the last is supported by Mountain Christian Church. And so they've enabled us to create these shelter houses or apartments that allow people to come in really in desperate need and stay for 6 months. And if they need to stay longer, then they can move on to our other programs. We have 11 transitional programs. We call it Transition 1 now, and that's our core program where people stay for a year. And of course, they're surrounded by all the support they need to move on to independence. We do have relationships now with Alliance and with other mental health care providers, so that if any of our families do feel, is it feedback? If any of our families do feel that they need that kind of help, or we see that they need that kind of help, we'll suggest it to them, and they can get that help while they're at Harford Family House. We also have 2 church-funded transitional apartments, and that's part of the One Church, One Home movement. You may have heard of Pastor Craig McLaughlin at Mount Zion United Methodist Church, and he got a vision that there were easily as many churches in Harford County as there were homeless people. And he didn't think it was really a coincidence that that number was very similar. So actually Anne-Marie Vimera was here today, and she's been helping with that effort. And they're looking to partner churches together to bring together the resources to rent houses to house homeless families. And then providers like Harford Family House or the FCCAU shelter or Anna's House will do the case management. So we currently have 2 houses from that program, and we're very excited to have been able to expand our program in that way. We have no expense for the rent, for the utilities. We only offer the case management. That's really wonderful. We created another program. I guess most of you realize that many of the people who come to us have credit issues, and it takes much more than a year to repair your credit. So people have done everything right. They've done everything they need to do to move on, but their credit's not repaired, or they haven't finished their GED class, or something else that they need to get, gain living wage employment. So we created a Transition 2 program for those people, and they're going to be able to stay with us up to 18 months longer while they solve those issues. And at that point in time, they're ready to move on to independence. We also created another program called our graduate program, and because Harford Family House now owns houses, some of the people who are living in those houses, if they choose to, can stay there. And they become regular renters with benefits. And what are those benefits? Well, they get to come to us for case management if they want to. There is no mandate that they have to do case management, but they're there, and we're there to support them. We still have 6 SHP houses, and those are the houses that are designated for families where one of the adults has a disability. And we're about ready to get a 7th house through the Department of Community Services, and that should come online within the next few months. So as I said, well, we had 57 children when I did this slide, so that is a huge number of children. And it speaks to the fact that throughout Harford Family House's history, we have always served the adults. You know, the adults are the people who need to get the jobs, who need to get their lives together so that their families can have a better experience. But since I've been at Harford Family House, and that will be 4 years in September, I can tell you that the clients have changed. They're coming with more issues. The children have serious issues. Just imagine having a child living in a car and trying to get them to school regularly, or to make sure they have proper nutrition. And if you're homeless and you're wondering where you're going to sleep that night, you're probably not reading them a bedtime story. So a lot of the children are coming to us and they're very behind in their development. And so we are very fortunate that we had a wonderful modular classroom donated to us. I'm very sorry about the feedback. I'm not quite sure what to do about it. And we had a wonderful modular classroom donated to us, and I have a picture of it. And it just moved onto our property this week. So our property is now going to have a meeting space, which is something we've never had in the history of Harford Family House. We have a place where we'll all be able to get together and meet and have programs and have tutoring, counseling, whatever our families need, we'll be able to do in that modular. So we're very, very excited about that. So we're going to be asking people in the community. I've already spoken to Audra Kaplan, who retired from the library, and Marlene Lieb, who's retiring from the community college, and ask them to come and help us put together a very comprehensive program for our children. So to talk a little bit more about the families who are currently at Harford Family House, for the first time in our history, we're seeing veteran families. And it's particularly sad to think that people who served our country are homeless. And we had 3 veteran families right now. 2 are single dads with children, and 1 is a single mom with children. So we're reaching out to other kinds of resources to help them get connected to the resources that are available for veterans. And it's something that we need to think about in our growth for the future, that we may be seeing more and more veteran families. 5 of our families are 2-parent families. And that's probably the largest number in our history as well. That means they have a mom, a dad, and children. And all of the families are coming with more children, and that's why we have so many people in our program right now. 19 are single-parent families with a mother. We have everything from a young infant who is currently taking oxygen through a tube because she has some sort of birth defect, to people who are 18 years old, and ready to be adults themselves. One thing that's really changed is our budget. Back in 2002, you can see our budget was about at $235,000. Now it's over $700,000. And of course, spending more money comes along with serving more families. It's really tremendously important that we have quality case management, because the case managers are the ones who actually work with our clients day to day, help them to gain the skills they need, help them to get the help they need, and push them a little bit to go out and apply for those jobs or register for school or whatever it is they need to do. So salaries come into play, and it does get to be more expensive. But it's very worthwhile, because we need the quality of our program to stay excellent. It does no good to house people, to put them under roof, if you're not going to do the things you need to do to make a change in their life. And we still have that hand up, not hand out philosophy. So we don't do everything for our clients, but we walk alongside them and help them do it. Our properties. Well, I understand we started with one rental unit somewhere in Harford County and gained other properties as we went along. And eventually we purchased the Del Grove apartment building, which has 25 units. We use 2 of those now as office space. We have purchased 6 houses, and we're very fortunate to have gotten grants from the Department of Community Services to help with some of those. And the others are properties that we purchased from the same family that owns the apartment building, the Karras family. And we call them our angels, because they totally make it possible for us to purchase these apartments and houses. They hold the mortgage, they charge us very little for the properties, and they're always there if something goes wrong and we need them. We have the 6 rental houses for the SHP program, and we have to rent those houses. The federal government mandates that we do not pay ourselves that rent. So we need to go out in the community and rent those houses. And the 2 rental houses that are church funded, for a total of 37 apartments and houses. Now, as most of you know who have been with us for a long time, the Karras family did have renters in the apartment building when we took it over. And one of the things they said was, please do not displace anyone. So we have not displaced anyone. And any of the regular renters who are there, who wanted to stay, are still there. The wisdom in that is that they actually help fund the other programs with their rent, so it's a very good thing. And we're more than just a housing organization. We do have staff, and there's 6 of us, but you've heard how many clients we have and how many children we have. So there's no way we can possibly meet all of their needs. We really need the volunteers, the apartment sponsors. You do an incredible job. I mean, we could not do what we do without you. We need people to come alongside our families, ask them just, let's go to coffee, or send them a card at their birthday, or give them a call and say, do you have, it's close to the end of the month, maybe your food stamps are all gone, is there anything you need? What you do is an incredible part of making our clients' lives better. So we couldn't do it without you. And we're all working at creating lasting change. You may have been reading in the newspapers about some of the new definitions of homelessness and some of the new government activities to help homeless people. And you will find that a lot of those are not directed at real and lasting change. They are directed at putting people under roof. But so many of the services that we provide will not be funded in the future. We really need to make sure that what we do stays intact, because we are very successful at what we do. You've heard today how lives have been changed, and people need those services. It's just not a matter of someone not having a house to live in. There's a reason why people become homeless, and it's very traumatic. And people need a new opportunity and a new life. We don't want to put them into a house in their old life and take our hands off them 3 months later and say, well, we hope you do well. That's not what Harford Family House is about. And our staff members are, of course, myself. You met Mary Berry. You met Ryan McIntosh. We have another case manager, Teresa Lewis, who is fantastic, and I call her the fire lighter because she knows how to light a fire under people and really get them going. She's fantastic at it. Tony McKenzie does a yeoman's job. We have all those properties, and he takes care of them all by himself with the help of volunteers. And then Bev Cotton, who's our office assistant, and Bev is a formerly homeless person herself. And we're very excited that this week Bev is going to get her own Habitat house. So we're very, very excited for that. And so we do have partnerships with Habitat and other people that do help our families move on to independence. And of course, all of you and our board members, we couldn't do it without you. Tomorrow, as was mentioned as a point of reference, we turned away about 450 requests for service last year. And that is the toughest part of my job, or any of us who work at Harford Family House, to answer that phone and say, I'm sorry, we just don't have any place for you. And someone said to me recently, doesn't that make you sad? Doesn't that make you depressed? I'm like, no, it makes me angry. It makes me want to work harder. It makes me want to find ways to provide for these families. So no, it doesn't make me depressed. It makes me work hard. And if I'm calling you and bugging you and asking you for things, that's why. I wish every one of you could have the experience of having to turn away a family on the phone. Recently, I had a young woman call and say, I'm being discharged from the hospital with my newborn. Where can I go? You know, that's really tough. That's really tough to listen to. And so we all need to work hard to make sure we continue to offer the wonderful housing and program that we do. We want to have planned growth based on funding. As I told you, there are going to be some government cuts coming down the road. Everybody's experiencing government cuts. It's not directed at our industry. It's just that all the budgets are being reduced. So eventually that will filter down to us. And so we need to find ways to be self-supporting and be less reliant on government grants. The local government in Harford County is a fantastic partner. They'll do everything they can to help us, but they only have the resources that come down to them from the federal government, then down to the state government, and then to our county. In order to maintain the quality of our program as we grow, we need to have more staff members, and particularly in the case management field. It's so important that we have people walking alongside our clients while they're with us. We've recently done an asset management plan, and we've decided that our houses and our building are going to be the best looking in the neighborhood. So of course Tony's going to need some help with that, and that's going to be our standard, that people will be able to ride by our properties and say, that's a Harford Family House property because it's the best looking one in the neighborhood. We also want to establish an endowment, and Tammy is here and she'll talk to us later about that. We've already started an operating fund at the Community Foundation, and also a bow tie Bill White building fund that was Mr. Bill's dream. Mr. Bill told me so many times, Joyce, while I'm alive, I want to see the mortgage to this building burned. And of course, when he became very ill and we realized that that wasn't going to happen, we very quickly started a fund at the Community Foundation and named it after him. And we took him a certificate, and he cried and he said, praise the Lord, praise God. This is so wonderful. And he was so happy. And so we got something started, but we're going to need your help to continue. So Mr. Bill did in some way realize his dream. We want to create a major donor program. For years we had an Excel spreadsheet with the 300 or so people that we knew on it, and those were the people we were always going to and asking for help. But now we have, through a grant, we have a wonderful software program, a donor database that helps us to know our donors better. So we're going to be working with people to go out and say to them, look, I know you've been supporting us all these years, but we have a special program. Can you help us with that? Or is there a way you can help us a little more, because we really need to work towards this independence that we're talking about. and also our capital campaign. Well, I'm so excited about the modular. I can't tell you. This was an amazing gift. And it just came because someone came to tour our building, and we talked about our dream of renovating the basement, and he said, oh, don't worry about that, I'll just get a modular classroom donated to you. And I'm like, really? Okay. So, and I thought that was very simple. Well, it did turn out to be really simple because there are lots of permits and holes you have to dig and electricity and so forth, but it's on our property, and I'm so excited. And also with Jim Elwood's starting us on our capital campaign. Wait, Jim? He helped us to start the plan for renovating our building. The building is almost 50 years old now, and like any 50 years old, it leaks, it aches, and it groans. And so we've done a lot of work, and we've replaced the roof. We've put things inside the roof to keep it nice and warm inside the building. We've replaced all the plumbing. We've replaced pretty much all the electrical. I think all but 4 of our apartments are completely renovated now, and those others are pledged to be renovated. And instead of working on the basement, we're going to walk in faith that that modular is going to stay on our back parking lot. So we're very excited to say we've made tremendous progress on our capital campaign, even though we've been in an economic downturn. People have been very generous, the government has been very generous, and individuals have just stepped forward and donated enough water heaters to put one in every one of our apartments. Well, that was one of my goals, because I tell you, the day I started work at Harford Family House and they showed me that boiler in the laundry room was the most terrifying day of my life. Not only because it was rusty and it was old, because it was right there near the washing machines where the children went with their parents to do laundry. So I immediately had Tony put up a fence so that no one could get near the boiler, and then I just prayed that somehow we'd be able to replace it. Well, none of us had any concept about how much water we were using and electricity to get that water from one end of the building to the other. But when we installed the water heaters, our water bill went down by 50%. So all of these renovations are helping us be more energy efficient. They're making the apartments easier to take care of. And I think they're making Tony's life a whole lot easier, because I was describing him as that little boy putting his finger in the dike all the time. Fountains would literally sprout out of the walls because of all the little pits in our plumbing. He doesn't have to do that so much anymore. And how you can help. Well, we have an ecumenical group here, and I know I can ask you to pray for us. We really do need your prayers. There are things that we need that you can't even imagine. And I don't know how any of our staff could not believe there is a God, because we'll literally be sitting around saying, we need 2 more twin beds, and the phone will ring. I've got a couple of twin beds. Would you like those? And, you know, what we need comes. So many people love the idea that when they give things to us, it goes to a family. That family takes it with them when they leave. You know, and then more comes. We don't ever worry about giving it away, except bunk beds. We don't give bunk beds away because we really can use those. But it really just comes. Serve. We still need volunteers, especially with this new program coming online for the children. We're going to need more volunteers. And of course, giving. You know, we can't do what we do without paying the salaries, taking care of the lights, and taking care of the building. So we need your help with those kinds of things. And this is a group of our children in front of a bus that was donated to us by Sky Properties. It's part of the Drescher Foundation, and they say it best. Thank you.